Well, after a morning with some problems so far away from Bangladesh to Spain, finally we were able to connect ourselves. So, welcome everybody. I hope everybody is okay with all this craziness of this virus going all over the world. And we are going to start. So, Sport for Hope and Independence sent me some questions where they wanted me to a moment. I want to see what I don't know is how I will see the chat. Uh, okay, has sent me some questions. So the first thing is I am going to present myself. I have been related to sport since my birth, since the cradle, being the sports of sliding, so skiing and surfing, my passion. I have been an athlete for alpine skiing, and then I became a coach. And well, this has been basically in my life related to the world of sports. In 1995, although this is another question they asked me, I started into the world of disabled persons, people with an impairment. And in 2008, I did co-found with Mariona Masdemont a non-profit social business that through sport, from leisure to high performance, we promote education, inclusion, and employment for people with a disability and all his environment. By his environment, we are talking firstly about the families, friends, etc. We believe this sport as a social tool through fun as well as effort. People with disabilities can expand their limits. The truth is that sport normalizes and sport includes. The vision we have in Play and Train from the very beginning is to walk towards a society where everybody has the possibility and has the right to practice sports regarding the capabilities they have. Our mission is to share all our knowledge in order to convey a change of attitudes in our society through sport and leisure activities. We work so that people with a disability do not have to rely in people with abilities. So we try to make them the most independent possibly through sport, using sport as a tool. The truth is that we believe that the only disability in the world is a bad attitude. We work mainly in three very distinctive areas. Play and activities. There we have the snow, the surfing. We have another program called Play and Adventure where we go trekking in the mountains or we go in cycling, whatever is related to the outdoor sports and leisure. Then we have a program that it's called Play and Hospital. We work with hospitals in order to bring the people to practice sport because we think it has also a point of rehabilitation. So the physiotherapists do their job, but we work together with the physiotherapists in order to help these people gain confidence with themselves. Then we have, in fact, today we have 2 centers of sport for people with a disability. One is based in the mountains in the Spanish Pyrenees, where we practice ski, snowboard, um, walking on the snow, all that is related with snow. And then we have another center in the Canary Islands where we do surfing. Then, since some years ago, because we grow and grow and grow, we had to create a club, because if not, it was very expensive for the families to come in a private mode. So we created a club where actually today we have 58 children and youth with disabilities, with an impairment, coming to ski with us nearly every weekend during the sport season. And then we have sport competition. In a second line, we have what we call play and consulting. So we do a consulting service to sport, to tourist business, companies. We help develop the presentations of products and services available for people with an impairment. We do assessments in design and accessibility. We are professors in a master of architecture regarding all the accessibility and the possibilities with sport for people with a disability. We also work with different companies. For example, you all know Airbnb. We work with them, giving opportunity of possibilities of things to do while the people are using the Airbnb apartments or houses or whatever. So it's huge. And then we have some people with disabilities who have been athletes, and they give some conferences and and make people aware of disability. And the third one, and very important, is play and education. We really believe that without education, without educating our society, our surroundings, in our small communities, we will be not successful. Still in society today, disabilities are not taken into account as they should be. So it's very important to educate our surroundings. So we have programs we develop programs in schools, we develop programs in our communities where we help the people understand that everybody has the same right to practice sport in the same way we all practice sport. So mainly this is how we do our things in Play and Train. And how we work, well, the truth is that we work with all types of disabilities. So we don't care if it's a spinal cord injury or deaf or blind or have a cognitive, autistic, fetal alcohol fetal syndrome that we have a lot in this moment in Spain. All types of disabilities are welcome. And how we do that? Well, the people come to Play and Train, and the first thing we do is to find the capacities and the interest that that person has. And from there, we work to find and to adjust to the level of demand that the person has. So what means you arrive to the center, you want to practice skiing or you want to practice surfing, and what we will do is to see first what is your disability. So we run some tests playing very simple things and we see the level that person has. And from there, we talk with the person and we try to find the right program that will fit this person and will help this person to have a blast. Also, we give very clear explanations, not with a lot of explaining, okay? And we try to do, when we can, visual demonstrations. When we have people who don't see, who are blind, we can also do demonstrations playing with the hands and explaining the things by touching. I know that in some societies we have problems to do that. But for example, when we work in Dubai with people with disabilities who come from Iran, where the religion is very strong, and you know that women cannot touch men, we find someone who will be a man and will help explaining another man by touching how to do it. So life is simple. If we don't want to see a problem, we can work very well. Also in Play and Train, we are very committed to advance and increase the visibility of the Sustainable Development Goals. So the SDGs, mainly on the 3rd and 10th objectives, being the 3rd, good health and well-being, and the 10th, to reduce inequalities. For you to have an idea, since 2008, that it's when Play and Train was born, to today, we have every year around 6,000 to 10,000 people coming to practice sport or leisure activities with us. This means that around 34,000 to 40,000 changes of attitudes is what we reached. All these, we have a way of measuring. We use this ROI, and all our activity, any activity, for small that it is, it's measured with this ROI system. So this to here is an explanation on what is Play and Train. I can go on and on, but I am not going to bother you with that. So now we come to the other question, and the other question is that they asked me how I got involved with Paralympic movement. Well, as I told you before, in 1995, due to a personal problem, my husband died. Someone took me to see athletes from a Paralympic team skiing in the mountains. And I have to tell you that I was really astonished. I couldn't believe what I was seeing in the mountains. I couldn't believe what people with a disability were able to do. I have to tell you that till then, till before 1995, I was working in a company called Salomon of equipment for for skiing, and we used to give material to the people with an impairment, to the Federation of Skiing. And the truth is, I never thought what we are doing. I was giving that equipment as, oh, poor people, we need to help them. Well, what I saw that October of 1995 in those mountains was, I don't have a word really to express it. So I became crazy about Paralympic sport there, or adapted sport. So this was October. They called me from a big organization in Spain. They asked me to be a guide of a blind boy. So I guide that boy for 2 years. And after that, I became the coach of the Paralympic Spanish team. And in 2000, I was elected by the nations during the Paralympic Winter Games in Salt Lake City to enter the International Paralympic Committee. And there started my journey with the Paralympic movement. I started in a committee. I became the development person for the sport. And in 2006, I was elected the president of the snow sports. So during all my journey, I was able to meet a lot of people, see a lot of different countries, see how the countries develop in their country the sport, see all the problems around the world with disability that I have to tell you, there are no different than the ones we suffer here in Europe, in Spain. So each country tries to do well, to do the same. So this was my involvement with the Paralympic movement. Today, I still keep, well, in 2015, I retired. I am an old chicken now. And I work here again with the basis, again with the kids, that it was something that during my journey as chair of the federation, I was unable to do. This is the truth. And it's very important to go back to the beginnings of everything. Well, now they are asking me how what's disability sport and its history. For me, I don't put an adjective to disability sport. For me, it's sport. It's sport done with people with different capacities, but it's just sport. But if we have to start the journey in adapted sport, I will tell you that everything started with the wars. In the 18th century, already a doctor, a military doctor, French, called Clément Tissot, he believed in movement. So he started to work with injured people from the wars. And he believed that by doing that, he will change the attitude of society towards the people with an impairment. Then in the same 18th century, we have the first book for gymnastics for the blind, done by Klein. We have the creation of the first club for the deaf. Then we have the Swedish gymnastic created by Per Erik Lang. He had a stroke, and because of the stroke, he started to create his own way of doing gymnastics and movement. And he was so successful that is what we call today the Swedish gymnastic. But then we arrive to Sir Ludwig Goodman. Goodman was a doctor, a Jewish doctor, who was German. And after the First World War, he moved to England. And there he started a section in a hospital for the people who had spinal cord injuries. In fact, Sir Ludwig Goodman is the founder of the modern Paralympic movement. He believed that by moving the injured from the war, he will be able to get the hopes up. He will be able to bring the self-esteem up, and the well-being and the health of the injured people will improve. So he started by creating, helping them to do archery and to play ball with them while they were in bed. And well, he started different things in movement. First, with only spinal cord injuries. So in 1948, he created the first Stock-Mandeville Games, but only for spinal cord injuries. They were done at the same time as the London Games, Olympics. The main idea of these games was to compete, to have fun, to socialize, and to feel in spirits. In that moment, 2 hospitals and 16 athletes did participate. In 1949, already 6 hospitals and 37 athletes participate on these games. Every year he was holding these games. In 1952, the games, the Stock-Mandeville Games, became international because it was the first time that 2 athletes from Netherlands came to England, to the Stock-Mandeville hospital, to play the games. And we arrived to 1964 in Rome. That is what we consider the first Paralympic Games. Already 400 athletes, 23 countries, and 8 sports were played. In 1964, during the Paralympic Games in Tokyo, were the first games to have a flag, an anthem, and a poster. So you see how fast the movement grows. In the 68, the Olympic mascot was created, and the Paralympic mascot was created in 1992, so not so far away. In 1998, the Summer Paralympic Games took place in the same venues as the Summer Olympic Games. And here is when it starts the relation between Olympics and Paralympics. For you to have an idea, in 2016 in Rio, where Papu was there, There were 4,328 athletes from 159 nations, and 22 sports were played. In those games also was an independent team running under the International Paralympic white flag, formed with two refugees. That it's a very important thing in the moment we live in our society. So if we go backwards to 1948, sorry, with 16 athletes, to the games in Rio, you can see how fast the movement has been growing. This is the Summer Games. For the Winter Games, they started in Sweden in 1976 with 53 athletes, 60 nations, and 2 sports. Always the numbers between winter and summer are very different, and the number of sports are also very different. In 1992, it was the date when the Winter Paralympic and Olympics are run in the same venues. So also there is a difference between summer and winter. Thinking about the IPC, how it's born, the International Paralympic Committee. Well, from the very beginning, in 1944, the Federation, the International Stoke Mandeville Games Federation was born. So from there, we have different organizations around the world that they were born. Each one of the organizations was gathering different sectors of disability. You have the CISS, so the International Committee for Sport for Deaf, or the International Sports Federation with Intellectual Disabilities, or a World Group of Disabled, or the International Sport Organization for Disabled. So while the movement was growing, also organizations were growing, till we arrived to one moment when, in 1982, seeing all these different organizations, there was a need to gather all in one. And in 82, it was created an international coordinating committee, Sports for Disabled in the World, that in 89 become the International Paralympic Committee. So this is how it was born, from a lot of different organizations. Little by little, they decided and they saw that they needed one governing body. And that was very important to make blast the sport, to make big the sport and grow. Then in 1992, IVAS, the International Wheelchair and Amputee Sport Federation, was born. Then, during the Paralympic movement, we have to say that we had three types of flags. The first one was used as a symbol during the games in 1988. It was a flag that it was with taegeux. The taegeux is a sign of the Taoist principle related to the coexistence of the yin and yang that we find in all the things. In fact, in the flag of Korea, you have it with the red and blue. The first flag had five taeguts with all the colors as the Olympic rings, but in our case was the taegu, and with the most colors in all the flags around the world. But then in 1994, this was changed, the flag, to only three taegups with the motto mind, body, and spirit. So these were the three. And then in 2003, it was changed to the agitos. The agitos, as you see the flag today. Agito means I move in Latin. And it's a symbol of movement in an asymmetrical crescent, spirit in motion. At the beginning, it had the word IPC in the middle, that was meaning that it was surrounding and took in their arms all the athletes, all the IPC. This has changed now, we don't have the IPC inside. So, to hear a little bit of history about the Paralympic movement. Now, the other question, I will answer the questions that you are putting me here in the chat when we finished. How disability sports can involve people? Well, the truth is that we believe in sport as a social tool through fun and effort. Therefore, it helps to transmit and facilitate a change of attitude. Being different is not the problem. The problem is being treated different. So, how disability sports involve people? Well, I think that when you see someone who is trying to fight and who is trying to achieve something, it gives an education to the rest of the people. I see it here when I am with a group of kids with a disability, and we don't treat them any different that I will treat my daughter. I mean, people surrounding start to see that it's normal, that there is no problem, that there are not strange people, that there are people as us, that they have fun, they laugh, they cry, as we all do. Because sometimes I think people think that they are very different. And this triggers something on the surroundings. For sure, you will always have people who doesn't care. But I believe that triggers something in all of us, in all humans. And well, the surrounding people get involved because they see something that makes an interest for them. And for all the people who has a disability, is our duty, the people who we work with or we work for adapted sport, to educate our surroundings. You cannot imagine the amount of parents that we have that they don't know that their kid can do different sports, that he can ski, that he can surf, that he can travel, that he can go alone. I mean, so it's a question of education. I think education and showing will help get people involved. So The impact that I see on disability sports to the people with a disability is that, as I was saying, people with reduced capacities must face a society built on normal parameters, where often all these parameters are barriers that they must overcome daily, and they do overcome them. If we follow the philosophy of Sir Ludwig Goodman, we believe the sport helps to overcome the disadvantages that these barriers entail, and gives strength both physically and psychological, creating a suitable field for self-improvement. With sports, we set goals, all of us, able or disabled. We set goals that we want to achieve, that we want to overcome. So this is an improvement on the day by day. The practice of physical activity, the truth is that allows people with a disability to experiment in different environments, away from the usual comfort zone. So, away from the usual physical and psychical capacity. Obtaining this, what gives is a really self-improvement in areas of self-concept, personal autonomy, and social relationships. It allows the families to get involved, to take an active part on the sport of their peers. It's true, we have a social problem. Our society, the truth is that marginalize people with a disability in leisure and in sport. Also, there is a lack of socialization. We see that with our kids. For people with a disability, sometimes there is a poor health condition. So, in our case, we try to do activities in the snow, activities in the water, activities of leisure in the mountains, to try to help with all these problems, the 3 problems I told you before. What we find, what we get from this, what results we obtain through all these activities? Well, the truth is that improves the process of functional re-education in motor skills, such as balance, strength, proprioception, spatial orientation, and the physical condition. We get a stimulation because of the different environment, because of coming out from your box that you normally are. And they get a personal satisfaction. Look, I have to tell you, after the games, after the Paralympic Games, for example, in China, and this was said by the president of the IPC, Philip Craven, in the reports, they state that before the games, people with a disability, in fact, were beggars on the streets. After the games, they were athletes. People with disabilities wanted to play and to do sports. So this is the real achievement of adapted sport. This is the real benefit of Paralympic sport. I think it's very important that we keep that in mind. If we give the opportunity to the people to get self-esteem, to practice sport, society will be much better for everybody. I can only tell you that Paralympic sport, adapted sport, today inspires and excites the world. And this is very, very important. So you are asking me here why Sonil Bhatia. He says that disabled people are also part of society, and I don't understand why people have a bad attitude towards them. Well, Sunny, the truth is this happens. This happens in Bangladesh, this happens in Spain, this happens in France. And I think that mainly is because people are afraid, are really afraid. What society doesn't know, uh, it frightens them. So this is why I keep on saying we need to educate. We cannot stop educating, even when we think it's. I am repeating, 400,000 times the same thing. We have to repeat it. It's the only way. We have seen that in our community with the Paralympic school days that we do. When we go to schools to do a Paralympic day where we do an explanation of the sport, of adapted sports, and then we create 5 zones to practice different sports. I don't know, goalball, soccer, ice sledge hockey, whatever we decide. We see some parents, because we invite the parents of the kids, that they don't want their kids to know about it. And the truth is that it's very surprising when the kids stop the parents. So, Aparajita, I cannot pronounce your second name, Chaudhry, ask how all the activities going on right this moment in this COVID-19 pandemic situation. Well, I have to tell you that it has been very hard for us because we work person to person with the kids. So we work in sports, we need to be outside with them. But we have found a solution, and it's the net. So every day through Zoom is a program. We do, for example, today, Monday, we have 1 hour of physical training for skiing, and we do it all together through Zoom. And then we have some lives with the families and lives with other organizations, but basically with the kids. We do 2 days of physical training. This means Monday and Friday, one for snow, one for surfing, and it's very fun. And then on Wednesday we do we do a game. For example, I don't know, the other day we did walking through the mountains and through the fields and all that. So we try to do a game. We try to play with them. It's not easy because, as you can imagine, when we have to tackle autistic kids or some kids with cognitive problems, they don't see the computer. They don't. But more or less, we are arriving because the parents get involved. So honestly, we have a lot of fun. And then after that, we have a long talk with them. We help them interconnect with them because Here in Spain, we have been for 2 months and a half close at home. So it's important. And when they have seen, maybe they look each other into the screen because they see themselves and they don't talk, but they smile. So it's interesting. It's a very interesting moment. I think it's very important to be creative in your mind. So when you work with disabilities, I mean, it's easy. Some disabilities, it's easy. If you have a stroke, if you have a spinal cord injury, you know what you can do physically. And but when you go to kids where they have a cognitive problem, then it's not so easy. So you have to be creative, you know. I don't know. Friday we were playing with a sock, and we also do. We call them confin challenges. If you go into the page of Play and Train in Instagram, you will see them there, or in Facebook, you will see them there. Here, okay, Nelardi says, hello from Bangladesh. The problem in Bangladesh is people have lack of common sense when it comes to empowering persons with disabilities. Recently, government creates slope in the road for wheelchair users, but motorcycle users are using it. What do you want me to say about that? Again, this lack of common sense, it's worldwide. Here you have parkings for the cars for people with disability, you know, with a really big space for the spinal cord injuries to be able to get out of the car, and people still park there with no disability at all. So it's very difficult. I mean, I don't know. I always think that I always fight, and I always go to the mayor, and I always try to push for it. And when I see someone who is doing something wrong, I I I tell them. So yeah, sometimes I get very bad. You know, they get angry with me. Sorry, I have to open a moment. I come back. I have a big bat here. Sorry, I had to open the door. NPC Bangladesh is now under process to membership by IPC. That is why I know that we have been working on that. In my time, I was trying to make possible that this happen. I know that you had 2 organizations in Bangladesh. Let me see. Okay, I will help you. I promise I will help you. I will try to find how is the situation, and I will inform Papo, because I was behind that long ago. Oh yeah, replying to Aparajita, that is replying to Maxdur Raham, okay, about his question on the IPC. First, IPC is not going to solve all the problems. You need to solve the problem in your own country. IPC is an organization, international organization. They can help you some things, but when it comes to the Paralympic Games, when it comes to the competitions, when it comes to education, but you need to work inside your country. You need to find the way of pushing in your own country to do the things correctly. And I think that Sport for Hope and Independence, I have seen growing the organization, and always it helps. I know that with Play and Train, that we are very small here, we do a change of minds. Thank you, Sunil. I am trying to see. Uh, yeah, this is true, Aparajita. In all over the world, parents, if we don't show the parents how to, um, if we don't educate them, they don't know. They don't know. They don't know what they can do. So, is there any training on disability sports? Absolutely. Ask. I will give you my. I will. I am going to put you here my my mail. Okay, and you send me a mail. You ask me what you want, and I can help you search for any education that is around the world. You have, in fact, in the IPC Academy, if you enter in the website of the IPC Academy, send me a mail, I will send it back. There you have some information about training in disability sports that it's interesting. And there is one at the very beginning, very interesting, that it's free of charge. Oh, I am happy to see that Bangladesh is working hard for autistic people, because we have a lot of autistic people um, in this moment. Yes, Aparajita, all this is the main problem. Always there are financial issues, but what I'm, you can do things with very little money also if you want. Um, as I told you, you have to be creative in your mind, and please don't lose your spirits. Never lose your spirits to do the things. Never. And you need to always fight for what you believe. And well, I don't really know what more to say. If you have any other question, I will answer it. If not, I think we are finished. I hope sports for hope and independence, it's it's happy with the talk. I don't know if I did it correct or not, but I was very happy to be here. And please, any help we can do. I will see if Bangladesh enters inside projects of the European Union, because we run a lot of projects on the European Union, and since some years we can tackle some countries who are not from the European Union. So I have been working with Africa, and have been working with countries outside in Asia. So I will see where stands Bangladesh, and I will propose Sport for Hope and Independence to be part, and see if I can help you. If with Play and Train we can help you in any way possible. So thank you very much for listening me, and goodbye, and have a good day to all of you.